Right, okay, today I'm going to do an acrylic, and I'm going to do it in a style which I am stealing directly from Charles Evans. I watched one of his recent videos last night and he did an acrylic in this style, so I'm going to give it a go. I've never tried painting like this before, but I will now, and we'll see how it goes. Right, okay, first thing I've done, that is a canvas, which I'm really quite pleased with. I stretched that myself, and it's primed with PVA and white System 3, and I've made a reasonably good job of doing that, so I'm quite pleased with it. Right, okay. Starting with the sky, I'm using the same brush that Charles Evans uses, same paints, everything exactly the same as he used on his video. But I will guarantee mine won't turn out anywhere near as good as his. I'm using System 3, and I've made a mix of cobalt blue and white. I'm going to cover the whole of the sky area in this, making it a little bit lighter as we come further down, just by adding a little bit more white to it. Brush I'm using, just like Charles Evans, is an 1.5" Cotman watercolour brush, which I'll have to make doubly sure I clean, because unlike him, it's the only one this size I have. Whereas Charles Evans uses exactly the same brushes, not the same individual brushes, but he uses the same Cotman brushes for watercolour as he does for acrylics. And with using System 3 you can get away with using soft brushes. Because it's very soft. Watercolour-y sort of paint. With System 3 you can use it, whoops, fairly thick like oil paints, or you can keep it quite thin and use it like watercolour. Very versatile paint indeed. The mistake I made there was not washing the brush out, and I've got the light paint too high up. so I'm just putting in more cobalt. The other good thing about acrylics is you can mess around to your heart's content. There. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is swap over to a 3/4 flat. This is a System 3 brush, not Dale Arowney. This is the sort of brush that I use, not Charlie. So what we're going to do next is exactly what he did. Get some blobby bits of white, and while that is still wet, make a mess and make a tiny touch of Naples yellow to warm the tops of these up a bit. And just a touch of Payne's Grey. No, that's Mad Purple. A touch of Payne's Grey. Mix it up with the blue. Put a touch of that in the bottom. In the middle. More white. Okay, now we're going to do what Charlie calls digital art, okay? Just using the finger. See how the grain of the canvas breaks the clouds up at the top. Well, I don't know if you can tell from there, but it does. I should do a zoom in when we've finished so you can see that. What I've done there is, because there wasn't very much white on the canvas and it started to dry out a bit, I dipped my finger into the white on the palette. It's very hot in my room today, so everything's drying very quickly. A little bit more. Top. There we go, that's the sky. More or less done, I think. I think I'll put some wispy ones at the top. Just using my finger. And there we go. And little bits of cloud in a nice sunny sky. Okay, I'm going to leave that to make sure it's completely dry. Right, here we go again. That's absolutely bone dry now. I didn't really need it to be bone dry, I wanted it to be bone dry. Right, okay. Next thing to go in, because this is going to be a seascape, I'm looking for where my, there, my horizon line was. I'm going to mix up some sea colour. Have I still got a Have I got the bottom part of that in? Yeah. I've squirted my palette, by the way. It's sort of homemade stay wet palette. Right, okay. Blue. Touch of Hooker's green. Tiny touch of Naples yellow. I couldn't remember what it's called then. Touch more green. And now we've got a sea colour. I'm going to mix it a bit thicker. Cobalt blue. Hooker's green. Naples yellow. Sort of sea colour there. And now, using 3/4 brush, if I can find, there it is. Sorry if my head's in for this bit. If you don't have the confidence to do a straight line, because I'm not having a very good success at it, and I've played lots of times before, but if you are a bit nervous about getting the line straight, there is absolutely no reason why, once the sky's dry, you can't stick a piece of masking tape right the way across. Just to make sure that line is absolutely straight. There's nothing worse than finishing the Seascape, putting lots and lots of time and effort into it, and then realising that your horizon's wonky. You can, in watercolour, you can sometimes get away with tilting the mount, but when you're on a canvas you've got no chance. Right, okay, more white, more Naples yellow, a light sea colour, and I'm going to go into that I want it fairly dark right out on the horizon. Getting a little bit lighter as it comes in. Now I'm leaving a white bit at the beginning here, and there's a reason for that, which I hope will work. we've got sea going across there. I've got a heavy line there which I want to get rid of. It's because I'm using the paint a bit thin. It needs to be quite gloopy. And you need to be quite gentle putting it on. Oh, I've made an island. I'm having difficulty with this. Because it's so hot in here today that my paint is drying as soon as it touches the canvas. Right, what I'm going to do where that line is, I'm going to get some white paint. I'm just going to break up so we've got some little wavy bits out there. Now, down here, this is the bit, apart from the using my finger in the sky, this is the bit that I hope really works. Because I was really impressed with this. I'm going to mix up some sky colour again, ultramarine, not ultramarine, cobalt, titanium white, tiny touch of Payne's grey, and here now I'm going to let that dry completely because I want that to look like wet sand eventually. And there we go. This is all dry. Now on the, using this 3/4 inch brush again, over here I want a horizon. I'm going to mix up a very pale grey, titanium white, Payne's grey, dash of Hooker's green, too much Hooker's green. So I'll put in a little bit of raw umber. Raw umber is absolutely brilliant for greying things down, killing strong colours. So there. Now I've kept that reasonably thick because all the way across there I want to do a headland. Now, clean the brush. Payne's grey. Tiny touch of burnt sienna. A nice warm dark colour, and here I'm just going to put some shadow into this headland. I'm just using the corner of this brush. Now it's vaguely looks as if it's got grass on top of it. There. While that's still like that, tiny touch of the Naples yellow. Here and there, just a little bit of sunshine. very gently along that headland, just to give it a little bit damp brush, just to soften that. No paint on that brush, no water, it's just a damp brush. There. Now I'm going to put a headland coming in this side, and I don't want it to come right the way across, because this is roughly based on my beloved Flint Peninsula. It's going to be rocky rather than sand dunes. In the one that Charles did last night, it was a sand dune place, but I want mine to be rocks because that's what it's like. Right, okay. Still using the same brush. Payne's grey, cobalt blue, touch of the burnt sienna, bit more blue, and here I'm going to put my headland coming down here. Rocky cliffs right down to there. Now as it gets closer to the bottom, I'm going a little bit darker. Right, now everything's getting a bit dry. What I'm having to do, because everything's drying out on this palette, is I'm spraying it all with one of them things. Okay, now that's more or less dry already. White, blue, and a touch of the Naples yellow. What I'm going to do now is put in some light bits where the light is hitting these rocky bits. And there we have that. I'm still using this same brush. Not quite as dark, a little bit more blue, a little bit more red. Well, and I'm going to give a bit more definition to some of those. Now, put that away. I'm going to get out my rigger. I'm going to mix up a really dark colour. Payne's Grey, a hint of violet. And it's really dark. I'm going to put the cracks in. Now we need a fairly light touch with this, because even in this heat some of the underlying stuff is still wet, and I'm trying not to pick it up if I can help it. Darker as we come down to the beach. It's too bad, fill that little gap in there. And here I should put some watery bits there. Right, okay, we're getting somewhere. Now I'm going to come onto the beach itself. I'm going to use raw sienna and raw umber, touch of Naples yellow, and some white because I made it too dark, and there we have it. Drag some of that into here. Pardon me, got a sniffle. There. Now, have a little look at that. I'm going to let that dry. Right, back again. That's all nice and dry. Well, not quite nice and dry, but more or less dry. There it is. Now I'm just going to use this rigger again, and I'm going to put a little tiny edge around the edge of the water. Putting an edge around the edge is usually a good idea. Not doing all of it, just bits so it looks as if there is an edge to it. Right, okay. I'm going to use the number 8 round, mix up into that beachy colour. Just going to mix a little bit more of the raw sienna, burnt sienna rather, the ready colour. And I'm just going to pull some wet sand up from there. There. Now, if you watch the Charles Evans video on this, you'll see that what he did here was he put a little, him and his 2 dogs going for a walk on the beach. What I'm going to do is different because This is a North Wales beach, so what I'm going to do is I'm still going to have the reflections, but I'm going to put a couple of rocks because they usually are coming out. It's exactly the same principle, but instead of a person I'm going to do some rocks. Some light on the top of it. And pure white just along the edge. Again, this bit here I'm gonna put some frothy stuff coming in there. Because I should have painted it. Well, I will go back and put the sea colour back in there. See, this is the beauty of acrylics. If you make a mistake, you just go straight over it. Now, where that rock is there, tone it down just a little bit, and another one coming out there. Now, where that sort of joins together with the wet sand, I'm using some white. A greeny colour. Listen to that. get some darkish sea colour and put some, that's a bit light, more blue, not waves but just undulations, there's a good word for you, undulations in the water. The way I'm keeping these fairly straight is I'm keeping my little finger just resting on the canvas. Now I've got a tip there. Now, still using this number 8, and put some, actually no, I'll go back to the 3/4 inch. Put some sunny bits on the beach, which is just more of the Naples yellow. Some bits of sand going up into there. Now, still with this brush, just want to add some highlights, a little bit of maybe wind ripple, a little bit of sheen on this wet stuff. I'm practically there now. But yes, just on the tops of some of these sharp bits of cliff. They are a bit sharp, but I'm going to put a little bit of flatness onto them. A little bit of texture where that one has got a little bit of water coming past it. And I'll bring a little touch of water along here. Now, I think I'll put right at the top Hooker's Green, raw sienna, touch of Naples yellow, and just on the top of this outcrop I'm going to put some grass coming down just to soften the edge a little bit. Because on the Flynn you seem to get this. You can get sheep grazing right the way down to the beach. You don't get the dunes, but you get this grass that will grow on practically anything. So there, that's that. And I'll put another stone on the beach just to break this lot up. Grey colour. Some light on top of it. And some of its baby brothers and sisters. Tiny amount of dark shadow. And some of the sand just drifting over it. Bed it in. I'm also going to have that as the high tide mark. Hooker's Green and the blue, touch more, of, I'm leaving you hanging, sorry, that's Hooker's Green, touch of blue and a touch of purple. And I'm just going to indicate some seaweedy stuff. A bit more green onto that. Some of the Naples yellow just dotted into there where the sun's catching the greenness. And there we go. We've got a tranquil sort of a beach scene. Now, I'm going to make some of you gasp. Just to make sure that horizon's straight, which it isn't. This is not cheating. There you go. Made a little bit of a blob, so go into it with the sea colour. There you go. Just a tiny touch of pale. Just along that headland. I don't like this big patch of blue, so grey. Whoops. Back to the digital art. Now, if I was Charles Evans, I wouldn't have to do this, because I'd have sorted out in my head what I was going to do beforehand. But I'm not. I'm me, so I faff about. And there, I think that's more or less done. A little bit more dark in that because I made a mistake and put blue in, blue in instead of grey. But this is the beauty of acrylics. You can faff about to your heart's content until you're happy with it. But there was a reason for doing this. It's just that sky was far too blue and unbroken, and you don't often get skies like that. Look more Mediterranean than North Walian. So there, to break it up a little bit more, get the rigger, some white, and I'm going to put in a couple of ticks. white with grey. Because they're always about. There. I'm faffing. Ooh, look. Look at that. That's not nice. There, I've got a dirty great big bit that shouldn't be there. Oh, where did that green come from? From my brush, I didn't clean it. Done it again. There. There, that'll do. Now, the thing that I've learned from doing that is this rubbing the clouds in with your fingers. You need a lot of paint. It needs to be thick and it needs to be quite wet. It's no good doing just a little tiny bit of paint and expecting it to stay long enough. It needs to be wet, it needs to be thick, and then you can spread it about. That's the lesson to learn from now. But there we go, we've got a sunny day on a beach, which I may see sometime within the next 6 months, and I may not. Okay, happy housebounding, and see you soon.